Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing good. So we today have moved on to day 3 of TPP, and to your surprise, or to, as you are seeing the timetable, we are going to finish what? The Western political thought today. So the beauty of this program is that you have to be as targeted as possible, you have to buck up yourself very fast, and if you are following, then I'm sure that many of you would have finished the Western political tradition, all right? Now, let's see what has been the pattern and how these topics have to be studied, all right? So, if we look at, all right? So, when we analyze the examination pattern, fine? Marx has been asked every year, either Marx as a thinker and the components and the thoughts that he has given, right? Either questions will be on Marxism as ideology, okay, or even his linkages with respect to socialism also has been asked. Now, when we have to study this topic, we don't study it in silos. So you have to study the prior thinker, that is Hegel, so that you can compare and contrast what has been the threads, what has been the thoughts he has adopted from Hegel, how he has been influenced, and where he has made a remarkable shift. All right? And then after Marx, what have been the post-Marxist development? In the sense, how has, in the 20th century, how Marxism developed in different parts of the world? Okay, which classical ideas have been accepted of Marx? What were the form of governments in these kind of communist states that came into being? All right, and you also have to analyze it till Xi Jinping. All right, that will show the complete integration, right? And even Gramsci. So Hegel, Marx, Gramsci have all to be studied in integration. Marxism and socialism as ideologies also have to be studied in integration. Only then you will get clarity what was, where it stopped. So it's actually like a golden thread that is linking these ideas. Even if you, Marx is very scientific in that sense. Obviously he is philosophical because he paves a completely new way of looking at things. But he is also very scientific. So there is a logical thread in all his doctrines, all right? So be it historical materialism, dialectical materialism, class conflict, revolution, okay? All of these are interlinked. So study them in that interlinkage pattern only. Only then you will have clarity and you will not understand the question in a narrow format and look at it in a more broader light, fine? And Hannah Arendt, students do face a lot of problem. They find her a little complex, but I really like her as a thinker because she also paves a completely new way of looking at politics in the 20th century. Okay, I will take one or two open lectures also on Marx as well as Hannah Arendt, so that it eases out your this mental block that they are very difficult thinkers. Fine. With respect to Hannah Arendt, okay, even though her key theory is on the theory of action, but ensure that even her concepts on power, politics, theory of action has been asked, and also how she talks about theory of judgment, links it with banality of evil, her views on refugees, her view on contemporary issues, okay, can be linked with her idea of truth in politics. So we have a lot of propaganda that is being created, right? Fake news and other things that are being made up, all right? In this idea also, how she's very relevant, the refugee crisis in the present era. So she's also a very broad thinker. Don't confine her study also limited to the theory of action, power, and politics, fine? So yes, you should obviously study Hegel, Marx, Gramsci in one order, and then Hannah Arendt. Fine? Now let's see this question, okay? I will deconstruct the question for you, and then we will be moving in a synchronization on how it has to be attempted. But first, deconstruct the meaning of the question, all right? So the question is saying, examine the Marxian theory that the mechanism of social change is to be found in the idea of class struggle, okay? So class struggle, class conflict is the idea that the question has been picked up from. with which other idea it has been linked? It has been linked that the view that revolution is the indispensable midwife of social change. Revolution is the indispensable midwife of social change. Now let's deconstruct this question. So first idea is talking about social change happening through class struggle. Class struggle. All right? And then it is talking about that revolution, right, is the indispensable midwife of social change. What is this meaning of indispensable midwife? Indispensable, which means something that cannot be avoided. Indispensable midwife. Midwife. Midwife is like a facilitator. So midwife are the health professionals who enable other women to deliver, okay, deliver a baby, right? So that is a midwife. They do not deliver themselves, they enable other women to deliver. So here, indispensable midwife. Revolution is indispensable midwife, which means revolution is the enabler of what? Revolution is the enabler of social change. And it cannot be avoided, it cannot be skipped. Social change will happen only through revolution, which means there is no peaceful way of doing it, or there is no parliamentary road of doing it. It will, any social change that we are seeing in a society guided by class struggle and class conflict will be only through revolution. This is what the question is saying, all right? So how will be our emphasis, right? So first, the question is of 20 marks. ये question 15 marks में मैंने नहीं पूछा है. I have given it purposely 20 marks and not 15 marks so that we can broadly interlink all the ideas of marks in the test, all right? One objective is that. And if this question comes for 15 marks also, how we can just condense some ideas, all right? That also we can do. Now, so how do we begin this question? ये जो question है कि मार्क्स की क्लास स्ट्रगल थियोरी, सोशल चेंज, रेवोल्यूशन, ये सब लिंक्ड है, इसको कैसे दिखाएंगे? सिंस इट इज अ 20 मार्कर क्वेश्चन, ऑल राइट, आई विल बिगिन with Marx as a thinker, right? The Marx is also a humanist. He is also a philosopher. He is also a revolutionary. All right? And many other titles that we can give. And the key contribution is that he has shown how we have to achieve freedom. So, enabled emancipation of mankind. Specifically, the amelioration of the vulnerable classes, the proletariat. Okay? Right? So, we begin with Marx as this. And what is this key contribution that he is talking? So, he is talking of the materialist interpretation of history. So, class struggle, okay? Begin first with Marx as a thinker. Then we show that what has Marx emphasized on. So he has shown the history of evolution, all right? And here history is obviously any history which has been written history, okay? So not in the literal sense, fine? So he says history, the evolution of history is guided by what? The evolution of history, it can be interpreted more by matter. All right? And not by ideas. Not by ideas. Who emphasizes on the dialectics of ideas? for the movement of history? Okay, Hegel. So Hegel focuses on idea, right? And which other school of thought has focused a lot of understanding of reality by emphasizing on idea? Okay, so yes, idea has been also emphasized by Plato and Aristotle. Okay, I'm sorry, Socrates and Plato. Fine. So ideas has been emphasized by this thinker. But he says, no, your reality is defined by the matter. Matter, which means how are you situated in the economic life. Fine. So first we explain this idea. Then he says, throughout history, this has happened. Okay, and throughout history, he says, there is a contradiction that has happened in the movement of history. There is a contradiction. Okay, so you talk of this contradiction in the key statement in Communist Manifesto. Okay, the history of hitherto existing societies is the history of class struggle. Okay, so why these classes are fighting with each other? Why are they in conflict? They are in conflict because there is a clear division that has existed. Leaving aside the primitive communism, that condition of history, he says, be it the ancient, okay, means be it the slave society, be it the feudal era, or be it the modern era. In all stages of history, there is a clear division. And he gives division of whom? Division of classes. Classes, okay? And these division of classes he explains by haves and have-nots. And there is a natural contradiction that is happening between them, because why? These classes exploit the have-nots. And this has been there. And with changes in technology, changes in the forces of production that happen, okay, automatically stages of the society also change. But always there has been division. So we first talk of the concept of what? Class struggle. What is the basis of this conflict? What are the reasons? And how historically he has explained these three stages. You don't need to write these three stages in detail. Just give a three-pillar mention that this society, there was, okay, master and slave, right? Then in the feudal society, lord and serf. And modern society, that means in the capitalist society, there has been the bourgeoisie and the proletariat which have been conflicted, okay? Now, after explaining this, you can also draw a diagram. Okay, I will depict that diagram to you later, right? Then we talk about what? Then we talk about, so we have explained the concept of class struggle in detail, okay? Now, when he says that to what extent revolution is the indispensable midwife of social change, how will we link this revolution? So he is coming to the what he's talking of, where will this history go? The history will obviously, he says, end in communism, but how this stage of communism will come? Okay, where the entire history will stop and then a completely new era will begin. So he says that because there is exploitation, okay, and they realize that there is this exploitation, right, they need to do revolution, a comprehensive socio-economic change, which will change this condition. And that will be how? That will be, he talks of. So he says that we have to do revolution. Why we can't do it in other ways? Because he says there cannot be any kind of rapprochement, which means there cannot be any kind of friendship or any kind of solution to the problem of this conflicting classes. And anyway, there is no stage. When he is actually explaining the history, he says there is no stage which can be skipped also. ऐसे ही चले आ रहा है और ऐसे ही चलेगा, which means he says that his prediction will come true. Okay? So there is no rapprochement, there is no conciliation that will happen. All right? And there is no overlap. Every stage is predetermined and it will move in that kind of manner only, says Marx. And then he says that there will be what phenomena? there will be dictatorship of the proletariat. Dictatorship of the proletariat, because they will realize that they have been exploited. And this phase, he calls it as the phase of socialism. So dictatorship, which means they will, in a way, take they take control of all the means of production. All right? After this will come the stage of communism. Now, see, such kind of a concept did not actually get realized. So socialism also came, okay, in Soviet, in China, but it has again not led to this ideal stage of communism that Marx had envisaged. Why? Because there was always state present, and classes were also present in the socialism that actually realized in the world. So nothing like this in the ideal sense came into being, okay? And that's why his prediction has been called as a utopia, right? Sabine calls it as a utopia. And others says that yes, he has given a very good critique of capitalism, but he has not been able to provide a what? He has not been able to provide an alternative to what can be the other way of doing things, all right? And even we can use Gandhiji, who says that not necessarily change is through revolution of that sense, okay? Or violence should be the way of how revolution occurs or change will occur. It can also be class cooperation and not necessarily class conflict that brings about changes in history. Okay? This is the flow of your answer. So you have to talk of the historical materialism, his materialist interpretation of history. You have to talk of the doctrine of class conflict, explain the stages. Then you will also have to talk about linking this with the revolution as a concept. Why so much emphasis on revolution? What is the character of revolution that he is talking? Why any change, which means any change towards communism will only come through revolution. Okay? No other way is happening. That's how we have linked all the concepts in a synchronized manner. Okay? I'll just show you the diagram as well so that you will get more. So again, just quickly summarizing things for you. So we talk about Marx as a thinker. Then we talk about how he differs with Hegel in how he's understanding history, ideas, matter. Okay? So yes, like Hegel only, he considered history as evolution of humanity through conflict. But conflict is not of ideas, conflict is of matter. All right? And then according to Marx, this key statement on class struggle you will have to apply, and how he has shown this. So there are always these two classes, contending classes he calls them. One is the ancient society, medieval feudal society, and the modern capitalist society, and the classes in every stage. Okay? Then you can draw this particular diagram where we can talk of what? The genesis of class conflict. So there is a division of society, I have explained, into haves and have-not. Okay? Have-not is obviously the dependent class, and the haves are the what? Dominant class, because they own the means of production. Fine? And obviously the one who is dominant has a tendency of suppressing the other. Okay? So, and they have the urge to overthrow this suppression. So there is naturally what that is going to happen between them. Conflict will going to be happening between them. Then this inherent contradiction of these classes eventually leads to class struggle. And this class struggle paves for what? Revolution. Okay? So he explained how from one historical stage to another, this transition has occurred. All right? And revolution is occurring to resolve these contradictions, he points, and dictatorship of proletariat will eventually lead to establishment of communism, that is a stateless and classless society. But ऐसा किसी भी तरीके से इस type की communist condition या communism as a condition has never developed in any part of the world. It remains a theoretical ideal for Marxists that they may be seeking to achieve. Okay? Fine? And then we do critical analysis. This is how every idea is interlinked to each other, and how we can explain it more scientifically with the diagram. It will add 2 marks more since it's a 20-mark question. Agar 10 marks hai, to we can avoid it also because time is less. And 15 mark also you should draw, and even in 20 marks. Fine? So this makes our presentation a little different from others. Fine? You understood this question? And now let's move to the second question. Now, So the second question is asking, examine the relevance of Hannah Arendt's views in contemporary times. Relevance of Hannah Arendt's view in contemporary times. So how do we examine relevance of any thinker? Relevance, what is the key basis of explaining relevance of any concept? For example, relevance of NAM, relevance of United Nations, relevance of WTO, these concepts, okay? How do we determine their relevance? How do we determine the relevance of your examination preparation? How? Okay, that's another key secret. I'll tell you later, okay? So relevance of anything is always determined on the basis of its objectives. On the basis of its objectives. Okay, fine. So these objectives, the ideas that Hannah Arendt gives, we have to talk of these ideas and to what extent today these ideas can be applied. So you have to give current example. So there have been questions on contemporary relevance of Marxism. So it is possible, okay, what is the modern constitutional democracies, to what extent they are resembling what Aristotle has said. Similarly, Gramsci as well as Hannah Arendt can also be asked, okay? So let's see how we begin this question. I have asked this question for, all right, again 15 marks. So let's see how will we address it. So the first thing that we will be talking about, Hannah Arendt as a great thinker. Hannah Arendt as a thinker. Right? So she has made very seminal contributions, right, towards understanding politics and towards understanding the unprecedented events of the 20th century, which mankind had never witnessed before. So she says in 20th century there were twin horrors, okay, of Nazism, fascism, okay, such kind of totalitarianism, which is so brutal, okay, that it shakes the conscience of the entire mankind. Aisa situation, okay, there have been wars, there have been violation of human rights, but to the extent it has been done in 20th century, we have never witnessed it in history, she says. So she says the entire framework within which we have understood politics only has to be changed, okay? So she completely formulates a new framework to understand politics. A completely new framework that illuminates, she says, the human condition, okay? And in this context, we can say that she is a thinker who is thinking without barriers, thinking without any barriers. And she gives completely new meanings to the existing categories of be it power, be it politics, okay? Right? And she gives them these categories completely new meanings. So we have understood her as a thinker. Then we will be talking of how her thoughts are relevant in the present times. So we can talk of first, we can talk of the very idea of politics she is talking. So she has a key goal that dignity of politics has to be actually upheld. Now why the idea of dignity of politics? Why dignity of politics she's saying? Okay, so she says that politics as it has been understood is not only a means to gain power. That is not the end and the means, okay, politics, right? She says it is a positive condition. It is a positive condition, it is a positive good. And it is when people come together, all right, to do collective actions and when they become themselves. So we have to uphold this dignity of politics and not make it corrupt. Like we can see how there is so much nexus that operates today, all right, and so many negative phenomena that are happening in the sphere of politics. So even political funding, Okay, how it has been done, how it is that disease, that cancer, which has not been able to be rooted out of the democracy. Okay, so first idea, she says that we have to uphold the concept of politics, we have to uphold the dignity of politics and make it a positive concept, because actually it is a positive concept and not only a means for gaining what? Not only a means for gaining power. Now when she says that, she also gives the idea that, you know, what is actually authentic politics in that sense. Authentic politics. All right? So politics is made for what? Politics is made for collective decision making, where everybody talks. Now you can also give this collective decision making on governance, right? So today, if Swachh Bharat mission has to succeed, there have to be collective decisions that have to be taken. Any government strategy, if it has to be succeed, be it the laws, be it the schemes, be it the vision, in foreign policy matters also, everything has to be associated as an integrated process. We cannot divide it in silos. And she links this dignity of politics with the idea of action. So first we talk of the concept of politics and the relevance of her theory of action, okay, in the times of COVID. So she says, in COVID, we saw the importance of togetherness. Togetherness. Right? What was happening in COVID? Okay, everything had to be done by a joint effort. Right? It could not have been done without joint efforts, be it of the international institutions, be it of the national institution. Everything had to work in tandem. Those who were doing complete silo approach could not have succeeded. So even Prime Minister revives the SARC fund, okay, at that point of time. So COVID is like that disaster, or events like COVID, she says, okay, if she would have been present, are actually the test of dignity of politics. They are the test. Because what is action? What is action? Action is participation in politics. Action is participation in politics. It is the pursuit of something new, right? Something creative. And only by this participation we could have handled this challenge like COVID. So first idea we link this way. Second idea is also the depth she gives to the idea of truth. So truth has to be truth. Truth in politics, okay? So one are the true facts, one are the alternative facts, so in the present time, right, a lot of narratives are being created, right? And this distorts truth, she says. It distorts truth. So false propaganda is done, right, by political parties. Such kind of means are resorted, right? A completely new misuse of data and other things is also happening that we see in the present situation. So it says we replace these facts by alternative facts to suit our own narratives. Narratives that help us, help vested interest. This distorts understanding of truth. So she says that we have to understand what is the difference between truth and what is the difference between this alternative facts that are being propagated. Okay, so second idea, first idea was dignity of politics. Second idea is what? Second idea is the concept of action and how we saw action in the time of COVID. Third context is truth in politics has to be there, okay? The fourth idea we can talk about is the refugee crisis. So she has been a refugee and she sees that this idea of refugees, okay, and how the camps have been created, this whole concept leads to statelessness. Statelessness, which means it actually disables one right to even have a right. Because at that point of time, the whole concept of human rights has not come too much on the forefront. Fine. So this statelessness even destroys the right, and there is a lot of problem. Right to even have right is being distorted It is taken away from human beings. So it really creates very deplorable condition for refugees. So today's refugee crisis, migrant crisis, okay, that are happening, Rohingya crisis, you can talk of Syrian crisis, how this has created, how nation states act very myopically also. Some have opened the gates also, fine? So this also in the present time, the statelessness idea has been already spoken of in detail by whom? By Hannah Arendt, all right? So yes, we can see that lot of her ideas remain relevant. And she actually laid the ground for authentic politics, where people really come together in a positive mindset to take collective decisions on the issues that are impacting them. Okay, fine. So you could have done it in this manner. Fine. So first, I'll just quickly sum up this for you, how she provides a new framework, right, to come with the twin horror of Nazism, Stalinism, how she, okay, talks of dignity of politics and how politics is oriented toward not just preservation of life, but a concern for collective and communal life, all right? And she says politics is a positive human good when people gather together in relative freedom. Then on truth and politics, so she talks about freedom of opinion. It is a farce unless factual information that has been projected is guaranteed. Otherwise, it will just create alternative facts and spread lies. Then she talks of refugee camps, okay? You can also talk of theory of action in that paragraph or later, no problem. Fine? And then how in the era of COVID, her idea of theory of action, okay, comes out in the forefront, all right? This is how this can be, her relevance of her ideas can be done. Now, her idea of banality of evil is not very much relevant because we don't see such kind of brutality, even though the concept of judgment, because judgment enables people to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong, okay? And this idea of judgment also can be used like from the view of the spectator, not the actor, like not the actor or the politician who is performing, but judgment. People will also have the idea of judgment. So from both the view of actors as well as spectator, how we are judging a particular action, right? Where we are preventing ourselves from doing something wrong, okay? So that hint that has been given to us as by our conscience, okay, and not merely be guided by any instruction and authority. Even this can be applied in the present context for civil servants also, okay? Fine? All right, thank you so much. I hope you got a holistic perspective on all the thinkers, how to study them, what has been the past year trend analysis, and the 2 key questions, okay? Ensure you study Marx in an integrated manner. Thank you so much. All the best.